Hey guys, it's me again, Eric here at Mountaintop 9, and this time I want to talk about an underappreciated album from Danzig, and that is Danzig 6, Satan's Child. It came out at a time where a lot of the fans that he had gained had already jumped ship at this point, and that was why this album kind of is swept under the rug along with the next album he did, Elusiferi. Both of these albums are kind of, underappreciated. They have some good stuff on them, especially Satan's Child. Everyone had grown accustomed to that classic Danzig formula that the original lineup churned out on those first four albums, that classic Danzig sound with the heavy, bluesy guitar and then Danzig's howling vocals, pure and unadulterated, no effects. And, he started branching out a little by little on albums like How the Gods Kill, just a little bit, and then even more so on Danzig 4 on songs like Can't Speak, Stalker Song, and I Don't Mind the Pain. Had different feeling to him, a different vibe, and so did Dominion on that album. Just different stuff was going on. He was trying different effects on the guitars and little things here and there with his vocals. And, but still, Danzig 4 fits in really well with the other first three albums. It fits in well with those. It wasn't too much of a departure, enough so that it sent people reeling the way that Black Acid Devil did. The people, Danzig's newfound fans that he gained with Mother, when Mother blew up on MTV and all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, Danzig, yeah. And, they wanted to run out and they bought the single on cassette or CD or whatever. So when Danzig 4 came out, the sound wasn't too radically different. Now, it didn't have a song on it that blew up like Mother did, of course. It had, but it did have songs that got some radio airplay. I remember when Danzig 4 came out, they did play Until You Call on the Dark. They would play that on the radio. I remember hearing it several times on the radio in 1994. And even into 1995, they were still playing it on the radio. But it wasn't a huge, commercial success. So Danzig 4 kind of tided people over, it kept people around, but when Black Acid Devil came out, I just remember me personally, people I knew did not like it at all. They hated it. They were like, what the fuck is this shit? And people would make up nicknames. I'd see it in Metal Maniacs and in different places where people would call Danzig now, they would say Glenn Reznor. They'd make fun of him. And I can kind of see where people were coming from saying something like Glenn Reznor, because on a song like Sacrifice, I mean, come on, that song does kind of sound similar to Closer, from Nine Inch Nails. I always thought it was and he even says things in that song that are kind of suspect, like, under the downward side, downward spiral. You can easily make Nine Inch Nails connections when you listen to that particular song. Now, the rest of the album, Black Acid Devil, I don't think is a Nine Inch Nails clone at all. I think it's just Glenn experimenting and having fun. He was obviously doing what he wanted to do at that point in time, and I respect him for it. And there's some good stuff on Black Acid Devil. There's some good chestnuts on there. I really like Come to Silver a lot. What a great song, great lyrics. It's a powerful song. He originally wrote that song for Johnny Cash. Just like how he wrote 13 for Johnny Cash, he originally wrote Come to Silver for him as well. Cash didn't end up using it, so Danzig recorded it. He took it with him when he left American Records. He took it with him and recorded it on Black Acid Devil. And I like See All You Were. Now, a song like See All You Were, that has some beautiful, you can tell, it has a beautiful melody to it in the chorus. And I wish that you didn't have any of those effects on Danzig's vocals on that chorus to See All You Were, because Danzig sounds really good there. You got to understand that during Black Acid Devil, you can hear it on Ashes, the final song when he sings clean. He still had that golden timbre to his throat. He hadn't yet, brought his vocal cords to the brink yet. He still sounded really good, really smooth, just classic Glenn Danzig. And so it would have been nice to hear more stuff on Black Acid Devil without so much effects on his voice. Because that was one of the things that people hated. They hated the fact that you couldn't hear the goddamn guy's voice anymore. People wanted to hear Danzig. Also, it was sad to see John Christ go. He's such a cool guitar player, and the way he played certain things, you know, that classic Danzig lineup. There was a sexiness to stuff, you know, like Girl and Devil's Plaything and Dirty Black Summer. There was a groove that John Christ brought to the table. He had a style that hasn't been, you know, replicated by anyone else, and it was something. And so it was sad. People were reeling from that. It was a very drastic change, Black Acid Devil was. And, you know, Danzig likes to say that it's similar to the stuff that he did in Samhain, but I don't agree. I think there's people that would probably enjoy November Coming Fire or Initium, but when they'd hear Black Acid Devil, I don't think they'd necessarily make the connection between the two. There's similarities in that it's experimental and stuff like that, but I don't see a big connection between those two. But let's get on to Satan's Child. So Satan's Child comes out in 1999, and I saw him on the tour for this album, by the way, and I want to say, I think it was in November. It was in November of 1999, and this was when he did the Samhain set before the Danzig set, so it was just a great treat. Talk about a moment in time I'll never forget. I'll never forget in the fall, seeing Samhain, one of the greatest musical creations ever made. It's an album like November Coming Fire is just quintessential. That album is autumn. It is the fall. It's just a timeless album, and there's just something about it. You can just smell the leaves falling on the sidewalk, and you think about bonfires and graveyards and jack-o'-lanterns and everything. It's just so pure. But so that was a great time, 1999, when he did the Samhain reunion, and then after that came on and did the Danzig set. And it was after that show, when I saw them in November of 1999, I met Danzig for the first time. And he signed this little flyer I had. I gave it to him to sign. I hadn't brought anything else to the show. I didn't know at that time that he goes to his tour bus and waits out back lots of times, and people can line up and he'll sign shit for them and take pictures with them. Now, I didn't bring a camera to this show. I didn't get a picture with Danzig until I'd say about 2003, 2004. It was just before Circle of Snakes came out. I saw him. This time it wasn't in Columbus, Ohio. This show was in Pittsburgh. And I got a picture with him out by the fucking road. I waited outside his bus. I was the only one there. And I got my picture taken with him, and I was a happy camper. I was and am still such a big fan of him and his music, so it meant a lot to me that he stopped and took a pic with me. Five Finger Crawl. It's got a good riff. It's heavy. I like the way Danzig sounds on this song, especially the You Leave Me Cold parts, and when he starts belting that out at the end of the song, he sounds really good. And there's almost kind of a Peter Steele quality to the way he does that line too, I think. And that's a good one. Belly of the Beast. It's a very simple riff, very stock and basic, but you know, Danzig likes to have simple riffs. That's kind of what he likes to expound upon vocally. He likes a simple riff that he can carry a vocal line over and go in all kinds of crazy places with his vocals. So he doesn't like it to be too complicated under his vocals. Makes it so that you can come up with really good melodies that way. And Belly of the Beast, it's an alright song. It's not a great song. I really like one of my favorite tracks after you get through Unspeakable and stuff like that. One of my favorite tracks, and something that I would associate with a band like Samhain, is Cult Without a Name. Now that's a dark, moody song. You know, this is a style of song that Danzig would do in a band like Samhain when he, you know, it's the same Glenn that would do songs like In My Grip and Human Pony Girl, and also on Danzig 4 when he'd do stuff like Stalker Song. And, you know, Cult Without a Name is a mysterious, foreboding, sinister song. I like the heavy bass You know, that he's just doing these lines over, and then the chorus is nice and heavy, and it's got very evocative lyrics. Great song. It fucking rocks. It's heavy, and it's doomy and dark. So Cult Without a Name is a true gem from the Danzig discography. Really like that one. I also like Fire Mass a lot. Very good song. Very solid. Memorable. That's a good one. And one thing I must point out on Satan's Child is it has a very heavy production, and there, even though his voice isn't covered up and obscured as much, and even though you can make out the guitars better and it's more streamlined sounding than Black Acid Devil, there's still a lot of effects on this album. There's still a lot of industrial influence, if you will. So it doesn't ditch that sound. It still carries remnants of the industrial. It's still very much present on Satan's Child. It's just not as pushed as much to the forefront. We've got his voice pushed up back into the front more, and the music has a lot of metal brought back into it. There's a lot of metal brought back. Cold Eternal is a good song. It's one of those sad type Danzig songs, just like he usually puts on every album, like on Danzig 2, how there was Blood and Tears, and you know, on Danzig 3 we had Sistina's. Danzig 4 we had Let It Be Captured and whatnot. Well, on this one we've got Cold Eternal, and it's one of those sad ones. The title track, Satan's Child, is just pure on, steamrolling, heaviness. It's uncompromising. I like the lyrics. I like the way Danzig does the vocals. It's a bruising song, and it's perfect for the live environment. So Satan's Child is a great song. Really like it. Now, as far as Into the Mouth of Abandonment, that song's okay. It's kind of a mediocre song. Not great, not really that good, but it's not a bad song either. The only bad song on this album, in my opinion, is Apocalypse. It's just really, it's just blah. I mean, that riff is just so, what's the word? It's just so generic. It's got a really generic riff. I don't like the lyrics. It sounds uninspired. You know, Danzig doesn't sound all that, you know, motivated on that song, if you will. It's just not, it's just filler to me. Now, he closes it out with 13. I really like that as an album closer. It's a dark song. It's quintessential Glenn Danzig through and through. It's the type of song that we've come to expect from him as a songwriter. It's simple, to the point, and weaves a dark tale. So overall, I like Satan's Child, you know, a lot. And it's not a great album by any means, but it's not a bad album either. I don't think Danzig has ever made a bad album. He's made albums that I found somewhat disappointing for various reasons from time to time, especially once we start getting into when Tommy Victor comes into the band and we start getting way too many pinch harmonics and guitar leads that I'm not much of a fan of. Let's just put it this way, I'm not much of a fan of Tommy Victor's guitar playing. I know a lot of people enjoy it, and I know there's a lot of Prong fans. I personally am just not a fan of how he plays the old Danzig songs live. I mean, when he does things like Brand New God and other songs live with Danzig, I just feel like the songs kind of sound butchered. The guitar just sounds, it just really fucking pisses me off. I really don't like the way he interprets a lot of the old songs in the live setting. I thought Todd Youth was really good. Danzig had Todd Youth on the Danzig 7 E Luciferi album, and I thought he was really good. I liked his guitar playing. You know, at that point, it was much more down-tuned and everything, but Todd Youth is a good guitar player, and I just liked his feel. I felt that it fit in better with Danzig. Now, there's stuff that Tommy Victor's done with Danzig that I like. You know, I like a lot of songs on Circle of Snakes and on Death Red Sabbath and on the new one. But there's a lot of things guitar-wise that I don't like. But one thing I want to point out, though, one big thing before I end this video, is Danzig 6 was the first album where we heard the change in Danzig's voice. At this point in time, something happened. Now, I don't know whether he developed a throat nodule, or I've read stuff at some point where he had a food allergy. I don't know what it was. I think it was from years of abuse. Let's face it. All the shows and stuff that he did with the Misfits, and then Sam Hain, all the shouting and screaming. You know, when he was doing the punk stuff, there was just a lot of screaming into the microphone. And then all the years of touring with Danzig also had to take their toll, because Danzig really gave it his all live. He gave 100%. You know, I know he'd do that thing, that cool thing. I think it's an image thing where he'd pull the mic away before he'd finish a line at the end of a verse or whatever. You know how Danzig liked to do that, and he'd also throw the mic out for people. But he also shouted a lot. When he was doing a lot of the stuff on, especially like on the Danzig 3 and 4 tours, you'd notice this gruff sound he was doing with his voice, almost like a Cookie Monster thing, getting the lines out. He was belting them out really strongly, and I think the years of abuse to his vocal cords finally took their toll, and there's a noticeable difference in his voice on Danzig 6. There's a hoarseness that is there, that is ever present, and it's been present ever since in varying degrees. It's not the same Glenn vocal-wise anymore on Danzig 6. The last time you ever heard that pure voice, in my opinion, was on Ashes at the end of Black Acid Devil. From here on out, from Danzig 6 on out, there's always been a hoarseness there, and it hasn't been the same. Can he still carry a tune? You betcha. He's put out lots of great songs that he sounded good on, but never, there wasn't that purity anymore, and that was just from years of touring and abuse to his vocal cords. I feel like on Danzig 7, on E Lucifer I, from the moment Black Mass starts, which is a great opening song, love that. It's just an evil song. I love the chorus, press the dagger to my heart, and then the riff is evil sounding, it's malevolent. It almost sounds like Danzig turned his own voice down in the mix on Danzig 7. He doesn't cover it with effects on that album, on E Lucifer I, but it sounds like he turned his vocals down. He puts everything else up front more, and I don't know if that was because he was self-conscious of how his vocals were sounding. I don't know. Some albums he sounded better, others worse for wear. I guess it just depends. But yeah. That's about what I have to say about Satan's Child and everything that surrounded it. I know I extrapolated and jumped into some other albums, but I'm a huge fan of Danzig. I love everything the guys put out, and I'm going to do a lot more videos on Danzig. I'm going to, you know, talk about other albums in particular. I'm going to talk about Sam Hain. We'll get to all that stuff. So if you like this video, please leave me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Please subscribe if you're new to my channel. Click that subscribe button, because I'm putting out more videos all the time. And I'll see you guys again next time. But I remember when I met Glenn that first time, all I could say to him, I just said, I'm a big fan. I said something along those lines. I said, hey Glenn, I'm a big fan. And he said, thank you. And Todd Youth was standing next to the bus, and he just laughed. And Danzig laughed too, and he said, well, I don't know what to say. So I thought that was pretty funny. You know, I didn't really know what to say at the moment. I was kind of awestruck to be in his presence because he's such a fucking legend.